How's it going, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, as always, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. And this time...
Where did you find this guy?
You know very well where I found this guy. He's from the comic books that I've been reviewing for the last two guys.
This is completely ludicrous and insane.
I understand that, I agree, but it's one I wanted to review anyways. Yeah, what I'm reviewing today is something called the Sentinel, and he's really an unusual creation. He's a patriotic superhero, and I know that when it comes to the Golden Age, patriotic superheroes are a dime a dozen. But I wanted to go over this one because it is short and sweet. It's 3 issues, but I don't really understand it all that much. He's not originally a creation. He's not a ghost. He's not a spirit. He's not a poltergeist. He was something created by Lady Liberty to fight for Americans when Americans would need him. She created him in the 1700s, and he didn't come out until the 1900s, which is like, why have you been sitting dormant for over 250 years? I mean, we could have used you. I don't know. The timing, the creation, the whole thing is just really weird, but, I mean, at least his powers stay consistent. He keeps fighting Fifth Columnists, but throughout the issues, in one issue, they keep calling them Nazis and Fifth Column. They don't even say columnist, they say column at the same time. They're not the same thing, so you can't just transpose the names onto each other like that. I mentioned that in the video, but it's an unusual creation, and I felt like I wanted to talk about it. I mean, he looks like he's an old-time hero anyways. But we'll cover the 3 issues and go over the origin. You'll get some sort of an idea of what they were trying to go with. And then you'll have a better understanding of who the Sentinel is. The Sentinel. The Sentinel first appeared in Liberty Scouts Comics number 3 in 1941. Original publisher is Centaur, and the creator is George Wilson. The Centaur is an unusual creation. He was created by Lady Liberty to fight for the Americans. There's only 3 issues. He appears in only the 1 issue of the Liberty Scouts, despite Liberty Scouts writing at number 2. And both issues of the Man of War comics, he was on Liberty Guard, which we've talked about the other 2. That's just a reprint. He's not a person. He is a corporeal being that was created, and he has a couple of powers. He can appear wherever he wants to. He can fly. He's intangible, but he can also interact with the real world. He seems to be able to make himself invisible. Now, they show him when he's invisible, they show a small flame, but nobody seems to see the flame. So I think that's just for our benefit, to let us know that he is listening in, or he is there but invisible, because there's a couple of panels where he turns into a flame, but they said, oh, he's disappeared. If he just turned into the flame, they would have said, oh, look, he's a flame now. But they said that he disappeared, so I think that him being invisible and in a flame is just for our benefit. Now, there's no upward level of his strength, but I mean, he in 1 issue, he appeared in the air and he was taking down planes. So, I mean, he had the ability to at least do that. He controlled fire to an extent. Now, every time he appears, he's surrounded in flames, but they don't really explain his flaming powers being hot until, like, I think it's his 3rd appearance, where the saboteurs are sabotaging American vehicles, and the planes are in the air and they ice up, and he's able to melt the ice on the wings of the planes to defrost them so that they can fly. Now, he keeps saying Fifth Columnists, and yeah, I understand the Fifth Columnists, but the Fifth Columnists and the Nazi army are not the same thing, and the size of the armies and their representation, he keeps calling them Fifth Columnists, but I don't think that they are. I think it's actually the Nazi army, which does bring into question in the third appearance. I believe all three of these stories take place in the U.S., but in the third issue, there is a large Nazi army, and here's the picture. It's a huge army. Nazis never invaded America, so it doesn't seem likely that this would take place in the U.S., but they never said that it doesn't, because a lot of this is a large American contingent, and we never manufactured American vehicles in foreign countries as far as I'm aware of. So I think it's a Nazi army. I think it takes place in the U.S. I mean, if it's Fifth Columnist, it's Fifth Columnist, but the size of the army doesn't make it seem like it is, even though he keeps calling them the Fifth Columnists. Now, maybe it was so they didn't have to say the word Nazi, because, that carries a lot of negative connotations, but there are swastikas all over the vehicles. So, I mean, this is kind of a case of saying it without saying it. So, like I said, he can't be touched by the enemy. He's unstoppable. It's a little uncompelling, but he does uphold the ideals of America. So, like I said, it's only 3 issues. There's not a huge amount to go into. So, there's not a whole lot of difference in the 3 issues. What he started with is kind of the same as what he ended with. So, let's go ahead and cover his first appearance so you can see what their idea was. The idea of a non-corporeal patriotic superhero is not a new idea. I've covered a number of those. This is just another one of them. So, let's go ahead and cover the first appearance of the 3 appearing, the Sentinel. The Sentinel. Created by the spirit of America, the Sentinel's mission on Earth is to combat the evil forces of destruction in the United States. 1873, the American Revolution has been won. One day on the Boston Commons. This cannon will make a fine monumental piece. Oh, okay. That night, the spirit of America appears. America has won her freedom, but if in the future years an evil force shall attempt to destroy that liberty, foreshadowing, a hero will be created from these powders of patriotism to roam America as the champion of her freedom. I'd actually like to know a little more about who she is. I mean, what is her deal? What is her powers? Apparently she's creating a hero out of nothing, essentially. America 1941. Extra paper. American van stolen. Sabotage. Fifth Columnist. Ship sinks. Explosion in the munitions plant. Spies. Okay, so for some reason, this cannon that was commissioned in the 1700s is being fired in 1941. One night, a frightening explosion resounds on Boston Commons. The Sentinel springs into being from the cannon's mouth. 1700s to 1900s. It's like a 200-year-old cannon. Why would you be firing that? Okay. The spirit of America calls me forth. It calls me. I know my mission, and I will fight the forces of evil in the United States. At the campground, New York National Guard. It was a good idea joining a National Guard. Now we can sabotage it from within. So the Fifth Columnists have, they're not just Americans, but I mean a large part of what we represent the Fifth Columnists to be would be Americans subverting American ideals. They joined the National Guard so they could get close to the army and munitions places. So they set up this one plant to fire, and just as he's getting ready to detonate, the Sentinel appears. Sorry to upset your plan, Fritz, but you're not going to destroy the arsenal. The bullet, it went right through him. And that's when we see that the Sentinel is, can't be harmed, but it can't be touched, but he can touch others, like a ghost, essentially. I mean, he's not a ghost because he wasn't alive before, but essentially. This is the sort of language you understand. So he beats up the Fifth Columnist, and then he hands him to the guard. And you see, this is what I was talking about with the flame and not understanding whether the flame is just for us to see. Because we see just the flame there, but he says, what in the... He disappeared. Strangest thing I ever saw. So they're taking the spy to the guardhouse, and when he's just one-on-one, he's able to grab a stick and knock out the guard and get away. So he arrives at the hideout and is telling the... Fritz arrives at the hideout of Otto Renner, Nazi spy chief of America. They don't say exactly what his rank is, but he's the Nazi spy chief. So I'm guessing some sort of an officer rank. So they're talking about their plans, and as they're talking, we see the flame in the corners of the panel. So it shows that the Sentinel is listening in, but they don't see a flame because they would have mentioned, hey, why is there a flame in our room? Or why isn't it attached to a candle or anything? So I think the flame is just to let us know that the Sentinel is there. So we're not questioning how does the Sentinel know. Glad I followed Fritz. This plot must be reported to the U.S. officials. So let's see. The next day, the New England and New York divisions of the United States Army coverage the upper New York State and large-scale maneuvers. You see, that's what I was saying about how I was pretty sure that this took place in the U.S. But they're fighting Nazi armies on the U.S. soil. That never happened. So while they're discussing their plans, the Sentinel is able to write out a message for them. So he writes on the wall, and it looks like it's saying, Fifth Columnist plotting an attack, U.S. forces at, it looks like it says maneuvers, be prepared, the Sentinel. The message on the wall, it wasn't there a moment ago. It's incredible, but we'll take no chances. Get ready for any surprises. So, we see the American forces start to go en masse. The American force prepare for the expected attack. Powerful fighting planes take to the U.S. The Nazi spy chief, Otto Raider, indicates his Fifth Columnist army to battle. You see, that's why I was questioning whether these were actually Fifth Columnists. Because that is a large-scale Nazi army, not Fifth Columnists directly. So we see the two armies battle. Now, they were saying that this was just off the course of New York, but we didn't fight Nazi armies on our shores. As far as I know, the Nazis never made it to the U.S., unless, of course, we're living in an alternate timeline where it did happen. Okay. So then the Sentinel intervenes, and he starts to fight the bad guys. It's time I entered the fight. Take that, you rats. I'll teach you the meaning of democracy. So he starts beating up some of the guys on the ground, and then there is a dogfight in the air, and he decides to take part of the dogfight. Now, we see him, and he looks big at first, but I think it's just perspective. They never talked about having size-changing powers, and as he attacks the plane, he doesn't look like he's bigger than them. So, I'm guessing it's just perspective. They say it's a ghost, and he starts going over and throwing guys out of the plane and dismantling them. He picks up a missile that was thrown from one. It is just using the bomb against the plane in which carried it. So he's throwing the bombs back at the planes. Well, there goes the last Nazi plane. See, they even say Nazis, not Fifth Columnist plane. That's the end. But then, look at that. It says Nazi plane. That's the end of the Fifth Column Army. And they're calling them Fifth Column. The American people will be proud when they hear of this great victory over the forces of brutal Nazism. You see, you keep traveling back and forth between calling them Nazis and Fifth Columns. I mean, they both do the same thing, but they're not the same thing. So, two of them get into a car and try to speed off. And the Sentinel catches up with them, grabs them, and takes them before... I mean, the way this guy is sitting at a desk and dressed, he's got to be a general. Here, the leader of the Fifth Column Army. Good, Uncle Sam will take care of them. No, he's in another publication. You were a great help to us, but who are you? I am the Sentinel. I can tell you no more. I have more work to do, so farewell. He vanished. America first, last, always. And that is the Sentinel. Well, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll learn something. I can't even say that one properly. As anything, I got more superheroes in the pipeline. And if you have any requests or ideas, I love to fulfill requests. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.